My name is Jenny DaSilva. I'm Start Small's Executive Director, and I'm really happy to be here with Hana, who's our Director of Equity and Inclusion. Start Small is a not-for-profit organization that helps entrepreneurs start and grow small businesses in New York and across the country. We have a presentation with a couple of slides. I think folks, great, thank you very much. We can move along to the next slide here. Starting a small business is challenging under any circumstances, and particularly the past year, it has been particularly hard for everyone. We can move along to the next slide. So again, Start Small helps folks who have limited access to resources and need help to grow and create really thriving and sustainable businesses. Start Small helps really partner with the clients with whom we work, having relationships, long-standing relationships with our businesses and with the entrepreneurs behind those businesses is really the hallmark of how we do our work. How successful we are, we judge that by how successful our clients are. So really thinking about that relationship as a partnership. The next slide, please.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. So as Jenny mentioned, I'm the Director of Equity and Inclusion. So we wanted to just kind of talk to you all about this really exciting and critical moment that we're at as an organization. We at Start Small recognize that structural racism is deeply embedded in all of our systems, and especially the business sector. We've seen a really long history of exclusionary practices that have disproportionately impacted Black communities in particular. So as an organization, we have a responsibility to ensure that we are not unintentionally perpetuating those same impacts through our work. So we have recently launched an organizational effort to identify, understand, and address bias, especially racism, at all levels of the organization, so that everyone, regardless of race, financial status, gender identity, or any other identity marker, has an equitable opportunity to succeed. At Start Small, we believe that entrepreneurship is a pathway to economic freedom, and small businesses support not only themselves, but their families, neighborhoods, and communities. So through this work, we have a responsibility to play an active role in dismantling those oppressive systems and eliminating barriers that Black communities and other communities face from achieving business success. So we're really excited, and we can't wait to kind of share our progress on this really exciting journey. Next slide.
Thank you, Hana. It's really against that backdrop that we think about what we do, who we're working with, and how we manage our programs. We do focus on providing the sort of infrastructural technical support that businesses need in order to be successful. So we think about legal services, financial management services, and marketing support. Legal services, it's really everything that a starting and growing business is going to need. Entity selection, forming contracts, forming and reviewing contracts, intellectual property, employment advice. Financial services is really bookkeeping, financial planning, financing options. And then on the marketing and sales side, helping to think about logo, website design, doing business online, and then access to sales opportunities. We're connecting our business owners to skill-based volunteers who are providing these services for free. Everything that Start Small provides to our businesses is provided for free. There's no cost at the beginning, at the end. It really is for free throughout. The next slide, please. In terms of who we work with, because everything is provided for free, there are some eligibility criteria. We work primarily with entrepreneurs who identify as Black, Latinx, women, and or people who have lower incomes. And then smaller businesses, so businesses with revenues under $1 million. The vast majority of our clients have businesses significantly smaller than that. So on average, businesses are about 50,000 in revenue when they come to us. So those are smaller businesses. Businesses tend to be located in more under-resourced communities, and again, the overwhelming percentage of our businesses are run by people of color and or women. The next slide, please. So again, in order to work with us, in order to receive services from us, we do have these qualifying criteria. And then the floor, we only do work with businesses who are operating. So we do need to see at least $500 in sales over a 3-month period of time. So there's the floor of $500, but then the ceiling of $1 million. Thank you. The next slide. The services that we provide have been quite impactful for our client businesses. We have seen supporting lots of jobs with our businesses, and an overwhelming survival rate, particularly in the last year, with over 85% of businesses being able to survive over the last year during COVID. So having that background, legal, financial, and marketing support is a critical mix that ensures the survivability, the sustainability of a business, particularly when there's so much risk out there, like with COVID. Thank you. The next slide. COVID has obviously had a tremendous impact on all businesses, but particularly on the Black-owned community, on the Black-owned small business community. The next slide. We have been collecting data over the last year to try to gauge the impact of this crisis on the clients that we serve. And as we all know, COVID, the public health crisis, the economic crisis that COVID has wrought is exacerbating systemic inequalities, which have had a disproportionate impact on the populations that Start Small is working with, and that we're here today to talk specifically about. We see that in access to funding, in access to capital. We see that in closure rates. One of the sort of silver linings that we have seen is that while at the beginning of this crisis, the businesses owned by our Black business owners were closing at a much quicker rate, we have seen our Black-owned businesses come back even stronger, and it's hard to know exactly all the reasons for that. I would like to think that there has been such an outpouring of support and attention paid to the systemic inequalities here that society is beginning to pour additional resources and attention, and that is having some resurgent effects. So we see that at the beginning of the year, our Black-owned businesses were more likely to close. At the end of the year, they're actually more likely to be open. So we've seen, at least in our data, some real silver linings here, and that's what we've really been focused and pushing on. The next slide, please. We have at Start Small, all of our programming has shifted to look at how we can be most responsive to the needs of our businesses. During COVID, we've launched a national rapid response program to provide COVID-related services as quickly as possible. We launched a grant program, and we've updated all of our legal, financial, and marketing programming to ensure that programming is catered to be as responsive as possible to the specific COVID-related needs that businesses have during this time. And it's really those pivots that we're making to support the pivots that we know that businesses have had to make over the last year, and that businesses are continuing to make now that we're beginning to enter this recovery period. The next slide, please. Thank you. Just to show a quick story of one of the businesses. Start Small works with over 3,500 businesses a year. Incredible stories of perseverance, and so it's hard to show just one inspiring story, but there's a business in Brooklyn that has we can move to the next slide, please. That is a wonderful story. A cafe that closed very early on. That is 100% Black owned and operated, and was an early recipient of one of our grants, and used that grant to hire back Cassandra used that grant to hire back her employees, and to develop a program to feed first responders and protesters at the beginning of the year. And now Cassandra has reopened her cafe and hired back all of her employees who she did have to let go. So a really incredible story of perseverance and resurgence. We do have a short video to show telling her story.
People were interested in us. People were also a little bit skeptical about us. They're like, is this for us? Who's doing this? People would put their heads in the door and be like, is this Black owned? And like the staff would be like, yes. The main reason why it's important for us to support small businesses, and especially Black owned businesses, is because the structural biases that are present in society, to some extent, can be reduced. 100% of my staff is Black people. 100% of the leadership of the staff is Black women. The community that we serve, 60% of my customers are Black people. The dollars that you spend are helping this community. I do think people need to not only think about buying from Black businesses, but investing in Black businesses.
Thank you very much. I think that's a great summary of why we are here today, why Start Small exists, why this programming is so important, and why we are so honored to work with businesses like Cassandra and Laku Cafe. So thank you very much for your time today. If you have any questions about our work, you can reach us at the next slide at www.startsmallthinkbig.org. And we would love to hear from you. So thank you again for your time during this event.